Venom Exchange Radio, Ep.7, blah, 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 blah. Nipper filled. Ha, ha, ha.
Not the garden skink, no!
Another one.
Hello, I'm Nipper Reed.
And I'm Phil Wolf.
So, settle down, have a nice cup of tea, and enjoy the Venomous Exchange Radio podcast.
Crumpets, Nipper. I want the crumpets.
Well, as you've been such an extraordinarily good boy.
Nipper and I are so very pleased to be joined by Tie Eipper for this episode. Tie is a published Australian herpetoculturist, best known for her co-authorship of several Australian field guides. She's also a well-known keeper of venomous reptiles, with a particular fondness for death adders. Tie has been key in promoting and inspiring the rise of female herpers and keepers in Australia as well as internationally. Tie, along with her partner, has an outstanding collection of both venomous and non-venomous Australian reptiles, in what may be considered the finest example of a reptile facility in private hands. All right, we are live. All right, and well, not live, you know what I mean. Tie,
Hi.
welcome to the show.
Thank you for getting up ridiculously early to come and talk to us.
You two owe me big time,
Oh,
boys.
we really do. It's the middle of the night for me here. What time are we? I don't know. It's about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night now. And it's a nice, sensible 5 o'clock in the afternoon or something for Phil.
Yeah, it's actually 5:15 here.
5:15. How delightful!
I know, right?
So in other words, next time we work it so that Phil's got the uncomfortable hour, yeah?
100%.
Sure, I'll take it.
100%.
I'll take it.
Ty, obviously you are very well known because of your
My husband?
not because of your husband, because of the books you author, and because of the quality of your collection, all that sort of thing. Can we just start by asking you, how did you get into reptiles? I'm going to be really sexist here and probably get caned for it, but it's not normally a girly thing. It's going towards that way now, but for someone who's been in the hobby for a while, it wasn't the norm for girls to have a collection of reptiles.
Let alone girls that
stuff.
high speed elapids,
Yeah.
Oh, they came with my husband. I grew up in the bush. I was never really girly, so that probably wasn't really an issue. Got my first blue tongue when I was 4. Dad used to get worried that the blue tongues would get injured by the horses next door to where he worked, so he'd bring them home. This was way back in like the very late 70s, early 80s. And yeah, got hooked from then on in. So yeah, been a while.
Whereabouts in Australia are you actually from?
Oh, I'm a Pom.
Oh, you're from Britain?
Yep.
I knew there was a reason I liked you so much.
Yeah, no, I came out when I was 2, so I'm probably technically Australian, but yeah, no. I was born in London and lived in New South Wales.
You're actually more English than I am, because I was actually born in Singapore.
That's great.
That is phenomenal.
Wow.
And have you always lived in the same part of Australia?
Mum met Dad in England, gave birth to me, came over here, and they sort of moved to New South Wales, lived there. Shit, don't make me do maths this early in the morning. I was probably 11, 12, and moved up to Queensland, and been here ever since.
And you're still in Queensland now, yeah?
Yeah. All these years later.
All those years later, and you're still in Queensland. That's great. Now, you started keeping your blue tongues at an early age. How did it progress from there? How did you get into the venomous keeping?
Oh, they came with Scott. Basically, single mum of 2 kids, and I had pythons, turtles, lizards, goannas. I had everything but venomous and a crocodile, really. sort of met Scott, and he had the Venomous. He moved in, and we had Venomous. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I mean, I've seen your collection, not in the flesh, but I've seen it on the internet a lot of times. Just for people that don't know, can you just kind of talk us through what you're actually keeping at the moment? I know that is difficult because you do have a phenomenal collection of animals.
And that's a great segue for a question I have. So I know on occasion when we talk to Scott, he always says, those aren't mine, those are my wife's. And or no, I don't know. You have to ask my wife about those. Do you guys really have like a collaborated collection, or do you have stuff that, you know, specifically you handle that are your animals and he has some that are specifically his animals, or do you kind of just mix it all up and take care of each other's stuff?
Bit of both. I really don't like Pseudonaea. I'm not a huge fan of texties. So I don't deal much with the Pseudonaea. Quite like the Ingrams. They're really growing on me. But yeah, the worst thing I think about a couple being into it is we both have the view of we were told no plenty times enough when we were kids. So we don't generally say no to each other. So it's like, oh, this followed me home, or I want this, or can we get this? Or we generally don't say no to each other. So it's, I guess some people, when there's only one of you's into it, sort of thinks, oh, that's awesome. But it's really not, because it just grows.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, I hear so many.
Oh, sorry, what?
No, I was just gonna say I hear so many times is that my, you know, insert partner name will kill me if I bring this home, right? But in your case, it's you guys like are enabling each other, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah. I think it's awesome. I think it is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's not just reptiles either. Like my background's pet shop, so early 40s, I said to Scott, dog or child, you pick. Midlife crisis. Got a dog.
100%. That was the obvious answer. Who the hell would want a kid when you can have a dog?
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's frowned upon when I lock the kid in the cage.
Dakota's so much better behaved. It's sorry, still on my second coffee. It's good, but it can also be like, that's it, we're cutting down, you know, we've reached limit, it's time. Scott also works as well, because I'd love to say writing pays the bill, but it doesn't. So Scott has a job, and then it's like, oh, that's pretty. And then all of a sudden we've got a pair or a trio, and if it's me that's bought it home, Scott's like, cutting down, are we? And vice versa. So it's, while it's a good thing, it's not always a good thing.
That's fun.
So we've had birds that way, a dog, a couple of dogs, you know, obviously, which we still have, et cetera, et cetera. It's not just reptiles.
Okay. So what does the collection look like at the minute, reptile-wise? Because it is fairly large.
There's parentes. Sorry, we've sort of moved some things around, and I find the easiest way for me is to mentally go through enclosure. So if I vague out a bit, I'm mentally going through the enclosures.
That's what we do every time someone asks us this.
Oh, it's
you
terrible.
You gotta go down the cages.
Yeah. I guess our focus mainly is on elapids. But there's black-headed pythons, there's womas, children's, jungles, olives, imbricata, diamonds, parentes. I think I might have said that, sorry. Shinglebacks, common blueies, blotch blueies, Cunninghams. Sorry. Couple of different species of Cunninghams. Sorry, I'm mentally doing the pits out the front. I've hit a wall. Apprentice in there. And then, yeah, sorry, we moved on the other. Sorry, yeah. And then inside there is, I don't know, basically taipans, brown snakes, collets, red bellies, adders, lots of different adders, red bellies, dugites, texties, ingrams. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's a massive.
Molly, I'm so sorry. There's a lot.
There's a lot to remember.
Sorry.
Now,
Sorry.
You've got, I mean, by the nature of the fact that you're Australian and you're keeping Australian species, and just about everything in Australia is venomous. You have got some pretty hot species there. I mean, taipans, obviously, but you know some of the adders, and you know even some of the smaller colubrid, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about them. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you've got some nice colubrids there. How did you train to handle venomous snakes? What was it, mentorship from Scott, or did you have an experience already, or is it something that you've worked together?
I didn't have any experience with the leopards before Scott moved in. For me, that was something I wanted to do, but when the kids were older. So basically it was just mentorship with Scott. He taught me, he'd get in there and clean, and I'd get in there and clean and feed and handle, and just, I don't know, that was like 20 years ago.
I know, it's a long time. I do appreciate, although I'm asking you the questions, how did you get into it? I do appreciate you have got decades of experience working with Venomous.
Well, we're all old school, you know what I mean? Like, the only way to do it is to get in there and learn. So
what is the legalities like in Australia in terms of keeping Venomous? Do you need to do any official mentorship? Do you need to do any official courses? Or is it just a case of having, like it is in the UK, inspections and bite protocols in place and that sort of thing?
It varies from state to state. I don't really look into the other states. I don't need to. Queensland, though, you need a first aid certificate. You need to have done a course.
The first aid course, is it specific to Venomous, or is it a general?
No, it's a general.
It's a general,
yeah. Sorry, I'm only laughing because when I had to do one for work, the guy's like, "Oh, I've seen what you do for a living. Do you want to do the first aid on snake?" And I'm like, "No." You paying me? No.
Yeah, you're getting paid. You do it.
Yeah. So no, it's a general first aid course. It's not specifically designed for venomous snakes. I think you need references as well. And sometimes, usually though, not always, they will come out and see you handle.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. And who comes out to see you handle? Is there a government body for this, or is it a vet?
No, government body. Yeah, the people that you do the licensing with.
Oh, okay, because I mean, in the UK, you have visit from a council representative and a vet. Neither of which have probably seen a snake in their life. At my last visit, the vet was asking me questions about the animals, which I'm thinking, I'm paying you £250 to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. But it's you've got to jump through.
Did they wear the white wigs?
That's theirs. Oh, sorry, Phil.
Did they wear white wigs?
Yeah.
What?
Why would they wear white wigs, you weirdo?
Because you're saying like they're like council member, like the old powdered wig.
No, not that.
Like the Old Bailey.
Not the Old Bailey. Not that sort of council. My local council that issues my DWA license.
I gotta take a pop shot at you every once in a while, buddy.
Fair enough.
Do you have many reptile vets there, or is it just vet?
We have so-called reptile vets. None of the vets will handle venomous. If I have a problem with one of my venomous snakes, what I will have to do is I'll weigh the snake at home myself.
Yeah.
And I'll tell him length and weight, and then I will take a photograph. Let's say it's a skin problem or something like that. I'll take a photograph. But there are no vets, certainly within a 2-hour drive from me, that will handle venomous. They're okay with the non-venomous stuff, but even then, to be fair, it does annoy me a little bit when I see them go out the back and they're flicking through the same books that I've got. Because do you know what I mean? I'm thinking, well, I could have done that, and you're charging me X amount of money to be here. So, I would say exotic animal veterinary stuff is in its infancy over here. It's getting bigger because obviously a lot more people are now getting into reptiles in the UK. As in everywhere, and particularly after lockdown, it's gone really, really big. Venomous keeping in the UK is still, or legal venomous reptile keeping is still quite small.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've got your bite protocols. I mean, who when you're working with your venomous at home, is it something that you always do together? Or will
God no, we infuriate each other. God no.
That's
I have ADHD, so
right.
It's not that I don't do it right. I just don't do it Scott's way, apparently.
Okay.
I don't do things. Scott's very like, okay, so we start here, we do this, and we work our way through. And that bores the shit out of me. I can't do it that way. Oh, God, I'm going to have to agree with Scott here. I flit from cage to cage. I do what interests me, or I do what bores me first and then work my way through exciting stuff. So I know.
No, you're stressing me out as well. I've got to be honest. I am exactly like Scott. I will start on one side and work all the way through.
I can't do it that way. I can't, or I lose interest. Like one day I'll start with the letter A, so I'll do my adders first, or I'll start with what's dirtiest, or I'll start in that corner, or I'll start what I want to take photos of first, or it keeps it interesting.
You and I are very alike in that way, is that I may not do a cage at all. You know what I mean? And I also think to myself, because I've got certain things that I don't want to necessarily cross-contaminate, and then at the same time, let's be real, I get the spitters out of the way. Like that, just like first things first, spitters and anything that's going to be a pain in my ass, they go first, because by the time I've done 25, 30 other cages, I don't want to deal with their shenanigans. So I'd rather just get them done over with, because if I do them at the end, then I'm like,
I know what's happening.
I'm done. I'm going to bed. They can sit there for another day,
Yeah.
So if you're doing your room, and I've got to say, your snake setup, your building, is absolutely beautiful. It really is a work of art.
And
I can't take any credit for that whatsoever.
You can.
I was just the coffee bitch. Scott did all the coffee and the hard work.
Well,
so
I don't want to speak for Nipper, and I also don't want to be insulting to Nipper, but I could confidently say for both of us that it may be the greatest snake room out there.
It's certainly.
I'll let you know.
It's certainly my top three.
Oh, top three.
Certainly my top three.
Phil, you're my favourite.
I know.
You haven't seen Peter Gibbons' snake room yet?
No.
That is up there. But no, I think the design for how you set it up, and I would encourage people to look online at any YouTube stuff with your setup in. How you set it up to work in, I think is fabulous. Just the aesthetics of it, the look of it is great, but just the quality of the cages and all that, it's spot on. It really is.
I've got to admit, there were a few things that he put in that I really, really like the skylights, the I was going to say the glass door, but there's a viewing panel in the door, as I show you with my fingers and no one can see it. There's a viewing panel in the door. We haven't had much get out at all, but it is handy. He could have done it a bit lower because I'm quite fucking short, but it is handy to have a look at before you walk in, just in case. And that's also in the isolation room as well.
That's a legal requirement in the UK. To get your license, you have to have double doors that you can see through both doors.
We have to have double locks for vents, but I honestly think, I guess too, though, a lot of people don't have that luxury though. it's maybe they rent and it's in a bedroom, one of the bedrooms in the house or something like that, and they can't just cut up a door or something like that. But if you're building your own snake room, I highly suggest doing it. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I just love how you guys have the light switch on the outside. Like, that's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, that's and to be honest, the skylights are genius, because you have a power outage while you're in there. You know, you may, like, I carry a torch on me every day, all day, but let's say you don't have one because you don't have one on you and it's not within arm's reach, and you got something out, and all of a sudden the power goes because somebody's working on a telephone pole, you know, a block down the street. At least you have the skylight and windows to go about it. You know,
it's also brilliant for natural enrichment for the animals too.
Sure.
100%, yeah.
Photospheres and such.
Light cycles, yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah. And you get to witness, say, the color changes. Like when we used to keep rust skull pythons, the color change in them is, and they're not something we'd probably see anytime soon in the wild. So just to be able to see that in our own collection was pretty cool.
100%. So have you got, I know you said you're all over the place like a mad woman shit, but
I was a bit nicer with myself than that, but okay, we'll take that.
But I presume you've got strict protocols in place, because the sort of stuff you're handling is top end venomous. I mean, you know, to work with taipans, it is one of the, you know, the potentially most dangerous snakes that you could be working with.
Yeah, but I guess, you know, walking down the street, crossing the road, takes a drunk driver. It's, you know, what I mean?
100%.
Different, yeah. I had, should we say, a few medical issues. So poor old Scott picked up a lot of slack last year. He really did. Kudos to him. He pulled a lot of weight because I couldn't. One of the, I guess, side effects of my condition was my iron was dangerously low. So for those that don't know, low iron pretty much makes you function. I was vague, worse than I am now. I was tired. I was dizzy. I couldn't breathe. Not I couldn't breathe. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but it was a lot harder to breathe. Rah, rah, rah. And Scott's like, don't go in there. If you have to, nothing more than pythons. And then small pythons. Or the lizards, smaller lizards. So no drugs, and that's for anyone that comes over. Anyone on drugs or that has been drinking even one drink, no. We don't let anyone in either if they've been playing with their own animals. I know that sounds really fucking anal, but
no, 100%.
Like a bitch.
It's got to be. You got to do it like that.
Yeah, and we're the same with other people. If we get unexpectedly invited somewhere and we've been in the hurt room, we won't go near their animals either.
Yeah, just a sidebar onto that. I was chatting to Eric and listening to him on the last podcast. Are Taurus mites available in Australia?
I believe they are. When I did a mite blog, I was researching it and I found 2 places that had them, but I didn't look into it any further. Okay. So I don't know how readily available they are. But it is something more practiced overseas than here. Yeah.
Well, I recently, because you and I had the long talk about the Taurus mites, and then Henry messaged me and was like, I don't know if we can get them because, you know, you need like a restricted, you know, plant pathogen license in Florida or whatever nonsense it was. And then Chuck Poland actually messaged me and was like, hey, I just listened to your episode with Nipper. And he says, I'm reading the message. Predatory mites are commonly used in horticulture, especially since the cannabis production has exploded in the United States. So I guess all the weed farmers are buying up Taurus mites to take care of whatever bugs are eating their weed plants, which would, I imagine, make it even more easy for me to buy them here. So
I think our country, maybe the cane toads were a very good lesson, and that would be why, if they are available, they'd be extremely hard to get.
Okay. It's just for a venomous collection, a particularly large venomous collection like yours, it's just such a game changer. If you do get a mite outbreak, it's just so much easier. You know, it's bad enough.
Prevention is worth an ounce of cure.
There is that as well. But if you actually have an outbreak, it clears it up so quickly and so thoroughly. It is.
Oh, they're brilliant. From what pardon me, excuse me, I'm so sorry. From what I read, they were absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
and it's a chemical-free way of doing it too, which is even better.
Yeah, I mean, so if you've got bioactive stuff, I mean, you don't keep anything bioactively, do you? Because it's venomous, I presume.
No. Got small adders and a couple of bio tanks, but I really love the aesthetic value, and I guess watching them in there. It's like putting a snake in a new cage all over again, but on a daily basis, sort of thing. I much prefer it. So I'm sort of leaning to keeping less, but keeping them better. But the way the hurt room was done too, the enclosures are built into the wall and it's all out of fridge panel, so it makes it a little bit hard. So
yeah, I think a lot of people, as they mature, I don't mean that. I mean that in a
I'm nearly 50. I'm well and truly freaking matured.
I mean that in a mental sense, not in a physical sense. But as I think you want to keep less, but exactly as you say, you want to keep it as well as you can. And I think all of us that are really into the hobby, we love making little worlds of our own. You know, I find it so relaxing. You know, sculpting fibs. I'd much rather be doing that than putting something in a tub and then going on to get the next one.
Yeah, man. Windows into the world.
Better behaved. Oh, sorry, Phil.
No, you're good.
Yeah,
we find like things in tubs. They're a bit more ready to strike. Maybe I'll word it that way. Yeah, you put them where they can sort of, see you go backwards and forwards, sense the movement, etc., and they calm down a hell of a lot quicker.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I keep my venomous stuff. I don't keep bioactively, but I keep naturalistically, if that makes sense. So, but with an eye on the ease of getting stuff out. You can't have it too overplanted because obviously, hooking stuff out becomes a problem. But I think
it's about safety.
Yeah, but then again, I don't keep any Australian stuff because it's all too dangerous and scary.
And expensive,
It is expensive as well.
I was just about to say, man, like I started, looking at stuff to, get some of the species I used to keep, and I can't afford them now. I flat out can't afford them now. Yeah. So
I'd say, as far as Australian venomous for sale in Europe, the cheaper end of it will be some of the more common adders. But even there, when I say the cheaper end, they're not cheap.
What are you looking at?
For the adders, for a readily available species, I would say is probably 400 to 500 euros, something like that.
Wow.
It's a lot of, it's a lot of money. Collets seem to be cheap snakes, cheaper end of the spectrum. But when you start looking at, not that they come up particularly, but if you're looking at tigers and taipans, you're ridiculous amounts. You're talking sell a kidney to get one. So you're very lucky. You're very spoilt where you are.
Not really, because look what you have access to and we don't.
This is true. I mean, I've got rattlesnakes and pit vipers, which obviously is impossible for yourselves. Can you, talking of which, can you keep snakes from out of your state, or have you just you can keep any keep any Australian species?
No. We now have a list of what we are allowed to keep and what we are not allowed to keep. I didn't look at it because everything we own is on the list, so I didn't really delve into it too much. So I couldn't actually tell you off the top of my head what Scott might be able to, what we're allowed to keep and what we're not allowed to keep. But the list is huge. But yes, we are allowed to, in Queensland, you are allowed to keep from any other state.
Okay.
It vary from state to state, though.
Right, okay. Because talking to the chaps on the Australian Herpetological podcast, I know there's a load of stuff that they want to keep. But I think where they are, I'm not sure where in Australia they are, but where they are, it's quite specific in terms of, I think they can only keep stuff that's from their state.
WA, I think, is one of the worst states.
Right.
Tassie, they're not allowed to import anything. I think they're allowed to keep what they find. They're allowed to keep anything Tasmanian, but nothing from mainland, I don't think. But it changes all the time too. So
are there many venomous species on Tasmania? I know there's tiger snakes in Tasmania. Are there many other venomous? Do you get death adders in Tasmania?
It's cold down there.
That's what I thought. I didn't think there was very many species in Tasmania.
Yeah, no, there's not. There's not very many at all. But the scenery is fantastic, so it sort of makes up for it.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, because each state is different, it sort of makes it hard. And then when they change, it doesn't change often, but it sometimes does change. So it makes it even harder. I think they're trying to bring it into alignment. Prices shot up here. We used to have it really good in Queensland. It used to be a recreational license was $55 for 5 years. And now they've moved that into, which is nothing venomous. They've moved that into alignment with every other state. So it's quite expensive now. But yeah, it does get tricky when the animals, if you're selling something, you can get in trouble for selling something to somebody in another state if they're not supposed to have it. So that's where it sort of becomes a pain in the ass. Queensland, we have to do movement advices, which go with the animal. No other state does them, but we need them for our records. It gets complicated. I'm sure you guys are the same, different rules for each state.
No, I mean, as far as Europe is concerned, I can have anything. I can literally just go out and buy anything and sell it. As long as somebody, I mean, in Europe, a lot of the countries in Europe, you don't even need a license to keep venomous. So you've only got to be over 18.
Wow.
It's crazy. I mean, in some countries in Europe, you can literally live in a multi-occupancy building, be 18 years of age with no training, and then just go out and buy a load of king cobras. It's completely legal.
I've got to admit here, before they changed the rules, there was no tiered system. So once you got your license, a recreational license, you could go out the very next day, and there's no training required for a rec, and get an adult scrubby or an adult parenti. And on a ven license, the very next day with no training, you could go out and get taipans and that. So then they tiered it so that you need to keep your lower level for a year and then work your way up.
Oh, I think that's a much
which is common sense, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Talking of, obviously taipans and your death and stuff, do you keep anti-venom or do you rely on the hospital system?
We are very lucky in our hospital system. Not every hospital not every hospital will stock every anti-venom. So it's basically your responsibility to check out what hospitals stock what when you move, and I guess do a list accordingly to what you keep, where you'll need to go for what. So it's expensive and it's given to you in a public hospital system. So we wouldn't.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that worries us about traveling. It's so good here. I can imagine copping a bite in the States.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm out to Arizona shortly, and my holiday insurance is going to be the shiz because I cannot afford American hospital prices. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's the same for us in the UK. If I was to get a bite off of something, I would literally just go to hospital. Now, obviously, because we only have one venomous species in the UK, not all hospitals stock anti-venom for a lot of stuff, but there are central stocks of it at various hospitals. So it would have to be biked or helicoptered to where I was, but there's absolutely no charge for it whatsoever.
Yeah. I've said to Scott, if I get bit, I've had a good innings.
100%. 100%. So I know from chatting to you before, one of your great loves are the death adders.
Mm-hmm.
What species are you actually keeping at the minute?
So I've got, I should say we. We both know it's I, but we. So I've got Paris, I've got Wellseye, I've got Commons, got Rugosus, got sorry, we moved some on the other week.
Still got Prolongus?
Barkley. Yep. That's it.
That's it. That's a phenomenal collection of Death Adders.
Well, it's not one of each either, I must say. So Scott called them all NAFA, which stands for not another fucking adder.
That's great.
That's cool. And you had quite a bit of success breeding them, haven't you?
Yeah.
What do you put that down to? It's not. You can't just be putting 2 Death Adders in a tank together. There's got to be something that you're doing right.
The water? No. Knowing your animals. Picking up on cues. Just. What you know when you just do, you know what you're doing.
I know you do. It's one of those things, though, isn't it? If you're good at something, you just think everybody knows exactly you're doing the same as you. But it's not. I mean,
sorry.
I was just going to say it's got to be the fact that how you built your snake room and with the skylights, you are getting a great day and night cycle and seasonal light cycles. Do you food cycle at all?
We feed like they would in the wild. We don't feed weekly. Hatchlings we do, very young, up to about a year. It's a weekly feed. As they get a bit older, you stretch it out a bit. But adults, we feed like they would feed in the wild. So we don't have, they're not lean, but they're not fat. You know what I mean? Like I think they're a really good condition, so to speak.
That's all it should be.
Yeah. I honestly think we have bigger enclosures than what they need to for the most part, like a fair bit bigger. So I think that also plays into effect. They're not just, I guess, sitting in a small space, just waiting for a rodent to get thrown in sort of thing. And that's their life. We do vary the food as well. It's not just mice or rats every single time.
I was going to ask you, with the Death Adders particularly, and particularly with, I know, with your hatchlings, are you feeding reptiles to them at all? Are you feeding skinks or anything like that? No?
No. There's just so much to do in the day. And we find when you scent, you then have to get them off the scented.
Right.
Or when you feed them reptiles, you then need to get them off the reptiles.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, the girly bit in me is like, not the garden skink, no! Legs or tails for the staff that requires the smaller meal proportions. Because that way they're still getting used to rodents, and it's just the transition to the bigger meal.
Fair enough. And what else? You just bred something else, which was a first for you. I saw you posted up. I can't remember the species.
Scots, the butler eye.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Cool. They're adorable. They, what the adults look like, yeah?
Vaguely. I mean, they're Australian, so they're probably just brown. But
yeah, shitty muddy colour, yeah. So they're like a jet black, and they've got vibrant yellow spotting throughout the body. Highly intelligent too, really intelligent. The babies neither one of us were prepared for it. When they came out, they were a really sweet gunmetal blue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then each shed, they've gotten darker and more of the yellows coming through.
That's very
cool. I was not prepared for the blue. They were really, really nice.
So you do have a vast collection. Is there
I forgot to add them earlier.
You forgot to mention them, yeah. Is there something that you'd really like to add to the collection? What's on your top of your shopping list at the minute?
Time.
Yeah. We all need more money, more space, and more time. Obviously, you're limited to Australian herps that you can keep.
Mhm.
I'm going to just quickly put you on the spot. If you could keep any species, regardless of whether it's Australian, what would be top of your list?
Rattlesnakes. And
Rattlesnakes.
it's not the
Good
cheapest thing you're going to
girl.
get hands on one Asperger sense. I'm not fussy on the species.
You're not fussy on the species at all.
No.
Oh, so many cool species.
Do you have a favorite particular rattlesnake?
Come on.
Eastern Diamondback.
Oh,
I know people eye roll like, really, out of everything you could keep, and I'm like, yeah, just I don't know.
Biggest venomous snake in North America.
it's not all about the size, Phil. I keep telling you that.
You're right. It's not the size; it's the yield.
Exactly.
I'm just gonna sip my coffee right now.
Yeah, you'd rather have a diamondback over something as attractive as Lepidus or Cloudberry or
Yeah.
Cerberus.
Not about the looks either, Nipper.
It's all about looks.
Aesthetics are everything.
Exactly. I was having a little read of the Snakes of Arizona book today. I am fizzing for that trip. I really am.
And I think what's great about this coming trip is that not only the crew that we have going is going to be a riot, but we have so many different avenues and different venues to approach it. So God forbid we get, which I don't think will happen, rained out or skunked in the first 24 hours. We got a lot of people we can call, and this is going to be a monumental trip.
100%. 100%. And Ty's not going.
Jealous fellas.
So, another question that we Phil and I don't really get to ask that many people is, what's it like to be a prominent female representative of the hobby? I mean,
I wouldn't use the word prominent.
No, but I generally would use the word prominent.
Sure.
I mean,
honestly, here, for the most part, I'm Scott Eipper's wife.
Okay, I would. Well, you're clearly Scott Eipper's wife.
That
is
factual.
Like it's Scott's new book.
Nah.
Scott does this, Scott does that, for the most part. Not everyone.
I mean, that might be local to you, but I would definitely say, in Europe and in the States, I wouldn't say it was like that at all. I think, you're known as you're a co-author. You're not Scott's wife, and you maintain 50% of one of the the best Venomous collections going. So I don't think it's fair to say that people just think of you as Scott's wife. Do you go online at all? Are you in any forums or anything like that?
Showing your age there with a forum. It's
Facebook. Darling, I am ancient, so
I know.
That was the perfect segue to her Facebook group.
100%. I'm not just an incredibly young-looking and pretty face.
What was the question? We spoke a lot after the question. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, what?
No, that was the segue to your Facebook group and your, women in herpetoculture.
Oh, so my Facebook group is Herpers. A lot of times women, not even just women, sometimes it's newbies, but it is mainly women, that myself included, you feel like you're going to get laughed at for asking a question or making a statement, or not even correcting someone, but giving the right information, or it's previously been wrong or something like that. And a lot of women, as Dominique will tell you, don't comment because you're poo-pooed, or I get quite often, and who are you? Why do you think that? That's not right. Scott gets it as well. That makes me laugh because there are people out there that don't know who Scott is and will quite happily try and wrongly correct him. But I don't know. A lot of the groups, it's a shit show. It's like a train wreck. It goes from, and I've got to admit, I just scroll on an eye roll, but the what's wrong with my snake, that annoys the fuck out of me. Take it to a goddamn reptile vet. Don't fucking get your likes on Facebook. But it goes from somebody making a nasty comment to like full-blown personal shit-slinging contests, and I don't have time for that. Don't get me wrong, there are some train wrecks you can't look away from and you do follow, but it's, I don't know, a lot of females tend to cop more of it than a male would. So there are a few female groups out there totally aimed at, you want to ask a question that you're worried you're going to get laughed at, or you think you should know but you don't. Do it in the safety of a group that sort of caters to your need, I guess. So yeah.
And is there not specifically venomous, but just keeping herbs in general? Is there a growing number of female keepers? Do you think is it becoming more prominent?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. Whether it's a beardy or a gecko or a single python, I think they are becoming more popular as pets, both here and internationally.
So a little birdie told me that you have a new publication possibly coming out in the near future.
Possibly. Am I now a little birdie?
So, well, are you at liberty to speak of certain things, like maybe, I mean, how big it is, how many pages, perhaps, build some anticipation for all of your international fans?
There's about 1,200 odd photos. There's about 400 odd pages. Awesome publisher. Lots of arguments went in that one. Quite excited. Not quite sure what I can say.
Well, we'll say this: it's a new book from you, which will be fantastic. And you and your husband have taken all the photos in the book, correct?
No, gosh, no.
Oh no. Oh, okay.
Worked with some new people as well, which was, I had the pleasure of working with Adeline Robinson. She's amazing, that girl. Lovely woman too, to boot.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, she's lovely. Talent is insane. Hal wrote the foreword for us, which was really sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah. Matt Somerville was one of our proofers, which was great. He provided a lot of photos and some information as well. Oh, we should probably stop before I let
too much away.
Fair enough. Well, clearly it's on Australian animals, and we'll leave it at that.
But yeah, we tend to work with a lot of the same people over and over, and we love them. We couldn't do this without their help, and we really appreciate all the blood, sweat, and tears they put into it as well. Some amazing photographers. Ryan Francis just kicks ass. If you don't know who he is, look at Ryan Francis photography. Amazing. So, and can we stop now before Scott tells me off when this comes out?
That's good. That's awesome.
And what about the process for your previous books that you and Scott have collaborated on? How does it work between the two of you?
So remember how you don't like how I clean? That's how I write.
Oh, my days.
It infuriates the fuck out of Scott, to say the slightest. I don't know. I have to do things how it keeps my interest, or I just don't. So yeah.
Well, do you guys like divvy up sections or chapters, or do you start at the beginning?
It starts out with he loves his spreadsheets. He's big on his Excel spreadsheets. So it starts out with a spreadsheet, and then I don't do it the way I'm supposed to do it via the spreadsheet. So he'll sort of go on, or I'll do bits that he thought he was going to do, or vice versa, or I get bored with writing, so I start choosing photos, or Scott
just works.
Yeah, Scott would love to say that, there's a set procedure, but I sort of fuck that royally. So yeah, no, there's no set procedure.
It's good though. It adds character.
And grey hairs, apparently.
You've got a second edition of one of your books coming out, is that correct?
It's come out. We got it this week. Snakes of Australia. Yeah. So
awesome.
It's got a new cover. It's got obviously all the taxonomic changes, species and whatnot, and some new photos.
Oh, grand. Another book for the bookshelf.
Absolutely.
Please don't buy it. You know the Christmas present we got?
Yeah.
We were actually told that was coming out and just like that would be going to the printer in December. So look surprised when you get your Christmas present.
Oh, I will. I'm excited.
That's why you didn't get your Christmas present. We didn't get stingy. We were waiting for it to come out.
Oh.
And then when we were told it would be, April at the earliest, I looked at Scott and I'm like, Nipper's got shortchanged this Christmas.
That's great.
So, yeah, please don't buy it. You have one.
I won't buy it. I'm super excited now. I can't tell you. I do.
I have to think of something really horrible to write in the front there.
You will.
So when you said wanted to get you on for a female field herper, Scott's like, what story are you going to tell? So I told him, and he's like, no, not audience appropriate. I'm like,
now we have to do that one.
Yeah, we got to do that one.
And then he's like, pick another. So I picked my second favorite time. He's like, are you talking for real? Not audience appropriate. And I'm like,
don't listen to
my
that.
third one. And he's like, no. And I'm like, oh fuck, now I've got to think. We don't get out. So Scott did dangerous creatures first, frogs, snakes back to back, and then lizards, snakes, and the new one back to back. And I'm so excited for the new one, but I think we got used to the John Befoy format, and you've seen it. It's like one photo and a small amount of text. Completely different than new one. And we were sort of like, oh, and I haven't done one like this before. And I think Scott had forgotten how much work was in it. Oh, fuck, I probably just said too much right then and there, didn't I? And it was a bit of a shock at how long it took and how much of our time, day and night, it took. So we haven't been out. I went out with best mate 2 months ago. And yeah, Scott's been out once or twice. But yeah, we haven't been out anywhere near where we would like to, purely for time restraints.
But previous to writing your books and stuff like that, were you a keen field herper? Is it something that you would have done?
Yeah. We used to go away, or not go away, but we'd go away every weekend, for the day and come back late at night or something like that. Every weekend without fail.
Oh, that's cool. And is there a big? I mean, I know I talked to the other Australian chaps that got the podcast, but is there a big field herping scene, for want of a better word, in Australia? Is it a popular activity?
Yeah. You can tell what gets frequented by, say, you'll pull into a car park at a specific place, for example, and the log that had been there is no longer there, or it's moved, or so it is quite popular.
It is quite popular. Okay.
Yeah.
And are there a lot of women field herpers in Australia? Is it a popular?
I wouldn't say a lot, but yeah, quite a few women do get out there and do it. But I wouldn't say anywhere near as much as the males. And I think a lot of women tend to keep one or two things, as opposed to the number of women that keep a lot of things. But I think too, Scott and I firmly believe that if you know where your animal comes from, how it lives in the wild, you stand a much better chance of keeping it and keeping it better in captivity.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
Yeah, it's not as probably popular as it could be, but then again, we haven't done it for a while, so we can't throw shit.
You're too busy,
yeah.
Well, seeing as how we can't hear the story per se, is there a particular key species that really just did it for you when you went and finally found it?
To be honest, I'm more about the time had herping. I usually find what we set out to find, so that an adder, believe it or not, a common adder. I just want to see a common adder in the wild. I have not. I feel like the world's biggest dick, favorite species. Every other fucker in Australia has seen an adder in the wild. upset me. I got a mate who constantly goes out and he'll send me a photo, and I'm like, fuck you. He knows I'm stuck at home writing, and he's out herping, and he's like, here's an adder, here's another adder, and I'm just like, yeah, it's not funny. For me, I prefer, I guess, the memory of the whole experience of the herp. I'm really lucky in the fact that my best mate's a herp, my husband's a herp, and his best mate's a herp, who I also get along with like a house on fire. So I'm very lucky in the fact that I can go herping with probably my most favorite people in the world, excluding my children. So for me, that's part of the trip. It's not just the species.
Yeah,
Excellent.
that's fantastic.
And now you can leave Australia again. Have you got any trips in mind?
Okay, so this is what's being said, but we both know how many books my husband buys on a weekly basis. So whether this eventuates or not, so Bali this year,
Wow.
Phil coming at you next year. 50th will be back home in London.
Oh, really?
Yep. I don't know. There's so many things and places we want to do and see. I'm not sure that, the COVID deal's completely over, and I'm still hesitant to make solid plans in case something happens all over again. Not only that, cost of living here, it's skyrocketed. Nipper and I were talking before, and he was saying it's decently gone up there as well. And between petrol or gas, food, wages haven't gone up. It's
difficult,
really noticeable. Yeah. So what we'd love to do might be a dream for a little bit longer than what we want to do.
If you're coming to London, I should definitely be taking you herping. There's some spots that I can show you, some berries quite close to London. So
nice.
That'll be all right.
Nice. I'm holding you to that one.
That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
That's awesome.
Phil didn't offer anything then, Nipper?
I was letting you talk. My problem is I jinx myself because I tell people, oh yeah, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go there, and you literally come up skunked, and I got lucky because Dr. Zach Loafman came down with some grad students to do some king snake studies, and he's like, look, man, I have spots that people gave me, but South Florida herpers, you can't trust them. You can't. It's just a wild goose chase. And I was like, look, I will show you on the map. I will take you there, and I'm not going to guarantee anything, but this is where we got to go. And we went up finding a king snake on the first night. So like, I felt pretty good about that. But then the rest of the trip was, we saw snakes, we saw plenty of herps, but frogs and all kinds of stuff. But I'm that guy that I don't want to promise anything. You know what I mean? Because there's a high probability that we will take a beautiful nature walk and not see a goddamn thing.
If if the pressure's not on, you'll see them, and you'll see them in abundance.
Exactly.
If the pressure's on, you're like, well, they were here last week. I swear to God, they were.
Yep.
Yeah, sucks.
So, but the minute you guys come here, I will make full tour guide action happen.
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
So what do you guys have left to see? Oh, Nipper.
Yeah, I've got talking to the pressure, I've got around 6 species left to see for Europe. And not to say in a couple of weeks' time off to Bulgaria and then Romania. Hopefully that'll take me down to 4 species. And then if I'm a good boy, I'm going to go to Crete and Milos, and then maybe Naxos, and that'll have me finished in Europe, and I can just then go and play in the US. Do
you go with the boys, or does Alison go? Or
believe it or not, Ali is very glamorous. She likes her makeup and her high heels, but she's a really good herper. Or she's one of those annoying herpers where I go, oh, there's no point looking there. It's not the right habitat. And then she'll go, is this what you're looking for?
I love her even more.
Yeah, we was on Castellarizo, which is a tiny, tiny little Greek island. for a specific salamander that you only get on that island. She found a snake. It was only the second record ever for the island. It was a little really rare colubrid, Irenus. Funnily enough, the first record was found by a friend of mine about 2 years earlier. But no, she's really good. She's got me a couple of new ticks with, when I've given up, she's found them.
Joint effort.
Oh, 100%. No, she's really, really focused. If you say, this is a picture of what I want to see, she's off, and she keeps going long after I've had enough. She's just like really mission focused.
That's awesome.
Good. No, she's good. I can't moan.
Phil, same.
I've got my Club 100, if you will, is thin compared to both of you. I've seen a lot of stuff in the wild. I've been lucky to do a lot of traveling in North America overall, and I've seen a lot of stuff, but you never get the full gauntlet. So my going with Nipper and the NPR boys to Arizona, I'm hoping to get way more checked off that list, so to speak. But I'm very, very restricted on how much time I can take off from work. So that'll be my only, bona fide herp trip for 2022. But I got crazy delusions of grandeur. So fucking sky's the limit. I had a whole, tour the continent of Australia trip planned out for 2020. And then some pesky little virus stopped me. Yeah. So we'll probably have to revisit that. And, in which case I will be knocking on your door, whether you like it or not.
I thought you were just dumping yourself on us for a fortnight. That's awesome.
And Phil and I are going to Israel as well.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
we are going to Israel.
That's 100% happening. In fact, I'm probably going to I've been watching the news as well as the regulations, and the goal will be to schedule something with you the first chance we get in 2023. So
100%. Israel is an amazing country to herp. It is phenomenal.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
well done.
Well, do we have any other questions for the lovely lady?
I don't think I do.
Yeah, we pretty much covered everything that we wanted to, I think. I'm sure we'll think of something and have her on for round 2,
100%.
Especially when the mystery
book comes out. Can we do it a bit later than 7 a.m.?
Oh
yeah. All joking apart, I do really appreciate you getting up early for this.
I wouldn't do it for many, but I'll do it for you.
Thank you, darling. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, good. Good. Thank you for having me.
Do you want to give the quintessential plugs for social media and the such?
I will do. Just once again, folks, thanks for spending time with us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for our esteemed guest.
I love the adjectives.
It's just absolutely
lady,
true.
Esteemed.
Yeah. Have you got any Instagram handle or anything like that you want to put out, Ty? If anyone wants to get in touch with you, what's your female herpers group?
It's herpers, like her in capital letters, pers. Her, yeah. So Instagram is Nature4You or Scott Eipper. Facebook is Nature4You.
And for your books, what's the best avenue to get those? Is that direct through Nature4You or
the website, please? Yep, www.wildlifedemonstrations.com.
Grand. I cannot recommend the books enough. They are fabulous. They all grace my bookshelf.
We didn't have to pay you either.
For me, you can get me at Nipper Reader Instagram. Please follow me because I'm trying to get up to 1,000 followers. That would be grand. We're getting there slowly. That's probably the best place. I don't really do Facebook at all.
Yeah, I've kind of put that on the back burner myself. So
yeah,
it's like a wormhole, isn't it? You look at something and then you look at something else and you look at something else and time's disappeared and you should have done this.
Yeah. I much prefer the fact that Instagram is just photographs and a little bit of text. It's not what my kid has had for his dinner today.
And it's uplifting. It's not.
Yes, it's uplifting. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a morale boost and it's positive. It's not arguing and what came out of your dog.
Yeah.
So,
What about you, Phil? Where can people get in touch with you?
people can get in touch with me on Instagram at knobtails.ig. That's probably the best way to do it because we're all abandoning Facebook like a sinking ship. You can also go on YouTube and check out Venom. Well, we'll do, obviously, this is Venom Exchange Radio, but the Venomous etiquette videos. You can also go to the Herpetoculture Network. We have a live show every Monday night called Snakes and Stogies, and most of the people listening to this probably already watch it, and we thank you for it. So the Herpetoculture Network on Facebook and Instagram, as well as knobtails.ig on Instagram.
That's grand. Well, thanks, folks. And that's us out.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.